Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport with another episode of Let's Watch Formula E, going back to Season 4, the second race from the opening round at Hong Kong, and after a very, very strange look to the final standings of the first race, let's see if the old protagonists Lucas Di Grassi and Sebastian Buemi can do anything in this race, or will the newcomers take another one? I say newcomers, but Sam Bird's been there since the start as well, and so has John-Eric Vergne. Let's just get into race 2. Same field as the first one, so make sure you go back and watch my preview, the first race, then come back and watch the second race. Subscribe to the channel, and with that, let's jump into the second race of Season 4 of Formula E.
So got to be careful because it is a tight old grid for the
narrow Qualcomm safety car based on the BMW i8 electric vehicle.
It shows you how small a Formula E car is when you see that the BMW i8 in
That's not a big car.
It's not a big car.
So away we go then, and a slightly anticlimactic start to the second race of the season. The green flag waved.
Turn 1 will be a lot safer than it would have been.
Yeah.
Great point.
Actually, some of the drivers, I'm sure, especially the guys near the back, are thinking, whew, okay.
For the first time in Formula E history, they started the race under safety car. I don't actually know the official reason for that, but I presume it's to avoid the traffic jam we got in race 1. So, unfortunately, we get a very slow single line to start the race.
He's gone. He's gone.
So the safety car pulls in, and Felix Rosenqvist starts the second round of the FIA Formula E Championship as we go green in Hong Kong once again, through the final corner, out onto Longwo Road. Who has got the best start and who is going to know where to brake on the run down towards the first corner? Here comes Rosenqvist. He's lost it! Rosenqvist spins at turn 1. He's spinned it at Tamar Park, and he's dropping right down the order. He collides with Nelson Piquet, and that means Eduardo Mortara is into the lead of the race.
And does Di Grassi have damage? There was contact. Locked the rears going into turn 1, Jack. Round she went, and he couldn't go because the field was funneling through.
Mortara leads, Apt in second. Here is Rosenqvist side by side with Luca Felipe.
Just body checked him into the fence.
Contact, and I think Felipe's in trouble. He's going to struggle to get out of the wall there. We'll have to activate reverse and come back. And there's Jerome D'Ambrosio looking feisty up the inside of Andre Lotterer. This is Nick Heidfeld, meanwhile, who is all of a sudden, where on earth is Heidfeld in the order 14th position? What a chaotic start. If we thought that the safety car start would be the best thing for Felix Rosenqvist.
Well, the safety car was a complete waste of time because we got absolute chaos anyway, all revolving around Felix Rosenqvist, who revolved around. Spun all on his own. Don't know if just a mistake, wasn't concentrating, put off by the safety car, whatever. Big mistake from the Hinter driver. Big shame because Rosenqvist is really, really good. And he'd have probably won this race quite easily from the front, but instead we get Eduardo Mortara leading in his debut weekend in Formula E. Rosenqvist did make contact with Piquet rejoining as well, so I don't know if he'll get a penalty for that, unsafe rejoin or something. And he also made contact with Felipe, I think it was Felipe, it might have been Piquet again actually, and maybe he'll get a penalty for that, we will have to see. But it's not gone well for Rosenqvist to start. There was a lot more cars making contact in that instant as well, as they all sort of bottled up to each other. So we'll see if anyone else has some damage, but for now, Eduardo Mortara leads.
Don't know whether it's a BMS or battery management system problem, such as Buemi had, but back underway once again. So the order is Mortara, Apt, Evans, DaCosta, Lynn, Vergne, Turvey, Piquet, Bird, and Prost, the top 10. And the fan boost results are now official. Kamui Kobayashi completes the weekend sweep fan boost both yesterday and today. The same for Luca Filippi and for Daniel Apt, running in second place. That could come in very handy as he tries to deal with Mortara.
So those guys all get a power boost in their second car once they've made their pit stop to try and attack or defend. Joshua Birch has pointed out Season 1, London Race 1 was the safety car start because of the bump that was at the first corner there in Battersea Park. So that wasn't the first ever Formula E safety car start. Thank you for that, Joshua.
Buemi has just turned the fastest lap of the race. He's going to have to do a few more of those if he wants to get in contention.
There were a few casualties of the first lap, it seems. Nick Heidfeld had to stop and start again. and Luca Filippi, after being pushed to the wall by Rosenqvist, has got going, so those two are way down behind everyone else. Other than that, it's been fairly clean since the start. It's interesting seeing Sebastian Buemi down in 17th and not really making progress. Lucas de Grassi is not really anywhere either. It's still Mortara leading out in front from Abt, and apart from the odd overtake in the midfield, Sam Bird's moving up the field as well. It's been pretty quiet since the first lap that actually was a racing lap. But plenty of time to go in this race for more chaos to ensue.
See how close Rosenqvist got to the wall, again using every inch of the track, every centimetre.
Not driving, perhaps.
45.
A little bit of anger in the driving of Felix Rosenqvist right now after that mistake. Coming into the season saying they wanted to reduce mistakes. That would be the key to a possible championship. But a brutal day yesterday. Now today, throwing it all away in the first corner.
So here's the usable energy remaining. Mortara is going to end up doing another lap here. I genuinely think Mortara is going to end up doing another lap.
No, so I've now got energies. So Rosenqvist has 4% more than you, and Turvey 3% more than you.
Bird's in trouble energy-wise.
Yeah,
in trouble, but he's not nearly as good as the guys in front. If Rosenqvist has gone past and has got 4% more energy, that's just very impressive by Rosenqvist. Also shows that teams are looking at the broadcast to get their energy figures, because they do not have energy figures from their own car, and they rely on the driver reporting back the numbers. With the radio problems we experienced yesterday for most of the field, that's where some of the confusion came from.
It's a very interesting top 10, with Mortara still leading from Abt. You've got Mitch Evans up there for Jaguar as well, doing fantastic. Antonio Felix da Costa is up there for Andretti. Alex Lynn's doing a good job as well. After that, you get some of the more regular drivers like John-Eric Verne and Felix Rosenqvist and Sam Bird, who have swapped positions. But a lot of the old hands like Lucas de Grassi and Buemi are still outside of the top 10 and not making any real progress. You've got other big point scorers like Nick Heidfeld, who's had issues and is way down. I think this race is going to have an interesting top 10. Some decent point scorers here. And this second race, it might only be the second race of season 4, but it might play a big hand in the final championship as well.
Made the move of going to the outside of his teammate, and that caused some of the damage that ended up ending his team.
Here he goes for the move. Up
Beautiful.
Up the inside into the hairpin.
Caught him unawares there, Jack. Caught him napping. And he's heading off, and he's going to head down and go.
I say de Grassi's not making progress. He's just pulled off a superb move on Nico Prost and is now in the top 10. We are still quite away from the pit stop, so about 10 laps. So I'm kind of wondering if everyone's playing the energy game right now.
Mitch Evans is going to be worrying about that. He's got to try and drive forward, so can't be focusing on his mirrors too much until Da Costa gets within striking range. Did you see how precise Mortara was with his inputs into the wheel of the car? Just how confident he is with it. He's on top of it already in only his second Formula E race.
Lap 20 of 45. That's Antonio Felix da Costa in 4th place for the Andretti team. Has won a race before in season 1 for the Aguri team in Buenos Aires. Was running well the next year there for the Aguri team before his car broke down, but I'd say this is probably the most sort of confident front-running performance we've seen from Da Costa, because he won Buenos Aires, he led a quarter of a lap.
Season 3 was a bit of a nightmare for the Andretti team, and certainly for the drivers. This looks a lot better, doesn't it? Even from first practice yesterday morning, I think they surprised themselves with the pace, with what they were able to achieve, and then the race just confirmed that.
Now Mortara's usable energy is dropping away.
This has been a much quieter race than the first one at Hong Kong, which is a little disappointing, but Mortara has a handy lead over Daniel Abt, who has a massive gap all the way back to Mitch Evans, and Antonio Felix da Costa is not far behind, but not really challenging either. We are only a few laps away from the pit stops now, so hopefully a change of car will spice things up a little bit.
So there's Mortara. Where's Daniel Abt then? Or is that Nick Heidfeld in the Mahindra behind? Yes, I think that might be. So there's Mortara, our race leader. Then wait for Daniel Abt there. He is in 2nd position for the Audi team.
It's 2 lapped cars between first and second place.
And then third is Felix Rosenqvist for Mahindra. So despite that spin at the start, he's managed to climb back up the field.
See Kobayashi locking up into turn 1 from quite a way back. One of the great things about this Michelin tyre that they use, not only can it be used in the wet and the dry, but when you lock it up, it doesn't flat spot nearly as easily as a slick tyre, which is pretty handy, judging by all the lockups we tend to see.
Lap 26 of 45 now. Alex Lynn is in 5th place. Antonio Felix da Costa, 14th. What happened to da Costa in the pits? 57 seconds for the Andretti team in the pit lane. That is, what, 20 seconds slower than it should have been. And da Costa was up in 4th place.
They had a problem yesterday, Jack.
Well, the pit stops did certainly shake things up, but we do still have some really big gaps. We could do with a safety car or something bringing the field back together. Mortara is still leading, Daniel Abt is still second, but Felix Rosenqvist has somehow managed to climb all the way back up to 3rd, which is a pretty fantastic job after spinning on the opening lap. And unfortunately for da Costa, he's dropped to 15th. De Grassi's had an issue, he had to stop on track and then get restarted again before getting his second car. There's quite a few lapped cars as well, so a few people are really off the pace. Hopefully it'll be a bit more interesting in the second half of the race. After the opening melee, it did very much quieten down, so we're due some chaos now.
There is Alex Lynn, making his way through turn 2 past Hong Kong Station. Mitch Evans there, and the man that he's trying to chase down in the Jaguar. Then Turvey, Engel is a lap down. No, he's not, he's in 9th place, sorry. And then Prost, and then Buemi. Good job for Maro Engel, because he had a pretty poor qualifying and started 15th, so now to be up in 9th place is reasonable from the German.
You know, you see them go through that 3-4 chicane and you realise that street course racing, it's a rhythm thing. You've got to get into a rhythm with it because there's all different surfaces, there's bumps, the walls are right there, there's no runoff area, there's no room for mistakes. You get into that rhythm though, and that's your friend. That's the way to go fast, is get into a nice rhythm with it. But then these guys have got to save energy too and continually change their technique depending on what they have to do on energy saving. So it's a very difficult job these guys are all doing, some clearly better than others.
This was Lucas Di Grassi making the move on Neil Jani coming into Tamar Park, the hairpin right-hander at turn 1. Job done.
Look how much later he can brake in that Audi. Not even lock up, not really a hint of a lock up. It shows you the performance, and I think that's, I've said before, I think that's the area that they're making the most gains, all these teams this year.
So most of the field, 6 seconds, maybe 1 second between each car.
15 laps left, and it is still Mortara out in front. Buemi has moved on to the edges of the top 10. He's behind his teammate in 11th. Di Grassi's further down, passing Neil Jani, and that's really been the sole moment of excitement in the last, well, since the pit stops really. But the gaps are still pretty large. Mortara has a 3-second gap back to Abt, who has a gap back to Rosenqvist, who has a gap back to Lynn and John-Eric Verne. That has been sort of the closest battle in the top 10 right now. So we'll see how this all plays out.
Daniel Abt 3/10 quicker than Mortara on that last lap, but Mortara just managing the gap at 3 seconds as we start lap 35 of 45 here in Hong Kong. This is the battle over 4th place. Mitch Evans in the Jaguar holding it at the moment. And further back you've got Engel, who's now under pressure from Nico Prost. Webby hasn't really got close to challenge Prost, has he?
No, the two Renaults running 10th and 11th.
-3%, -3.
So that's Lim being told he's got a 3% pace, or energy, I should say, advantage over Mitch Evans in front. Therefore, he can attack a little bit. There is Nico Prost. You see, Webby never had any collisions, or he pitted a lap earlier, didn't he? So he's
got to be
having to
a little
manage his
careful,
energy
yeah.
more than the other guys. Turvey then is by himself, but Bird and Verne are very close together as well. So both of the DS Virgin guys are on a charge. Here, Alex Lynn trying to get 4th place, and then further back, Sam Bird trying to get 6th place. So the Brits are coming.
You can see the marbles building up on the side of the track. That's something we don't normally see in Formula E.
So we've had some interesting moments in the last 5 laps. Mortara is really having to fight off a game Nick Heidfeld, who happens to be a lap down. So Heifeld's trying to unlap himself. Mortara doesn't want him to unlap himself. So they've actually been squabbling pretty hard, and it's got pretty close at times, which meant that's for the race lead. I don't think Daniel Apt's really closing in too much, but he's still got 10 laps. So if Mortara does make a mistake, Apt could still get to the back of him. We've got Evans versus Lynn for 4th. The Jaguar seems to be struggling with its full race pace. So he has been closed in by the Virgin and they are battling away. Lynn has left Jean-Eric Verne behind, which is pretty impressive. Prost and Bremy still on the edges of the points. And Lucas Grassi still way down the field. And we have about 10 laps left.
Mortara leading. There's Daniel Apt in second place. The gap drops down to 1.6 seconds now. So closing in a little, Daniel Apt, but only 6 laps to go. It's going to need to be more dramatic than that if he's to take the win on his birthday.
He's got to risk more, hasn't he? I think he's willing to do it.
Well, if he can keep closing down before he has to use the fan boost to try the pass, might be a good strategy.
Would you use the fan boost to catch the gap or to make the pass?
I'd use it to make the pass.
Personal best from Eduardo Mortara on that last lap, that 41 of 45.
Problem is, you use the fan boost to make the pass. He blocks you. You've used your bullet. Whereas if you know, I think you've got to get closer, keep a bit of energy in your pocket
if you can. Mortara just picked up his pace, so he may have had the same thought.
I'm sure they're all trying as hard as they can. That's the thing. We're sitting here sort of talking about these strategies. These guys are leaving nothing on the table.
We are right near the end of this race, and I'm pretty sure Mortara doesn't win this early into his time in Formula E. So something's got to happen in the next few laps. But it would be a shame because Mortara has led most of this race. In fact, pretty much all of this race. Daniel Apt still in second. We have not had a lot of overtaking. Not a lot has really happened in this second race. The Virgins are on a charge at the moment. Lynn is trying to get past Evans. And Sam Bird is trying to get past Jean-Eric Verne again. So, I mean, if there's any excitement to come, I presume it's going to be from one of the Virgin boys.
2 in that battle. Antonio Felix da Costa, he'll be gutted to be down in 13th place when he could have been battling for a podium. Here's Eduardo Mortara, 3 laps to go in the second round of the Formula E Championship. Daniel Apt is using his fan boost now.
I was going to say, Mortara made the decision for him. Oh,
he's spun! Mortara has spun down at Hong Kong Station when he looked to be in control of the E-Prix. And Daniel Apt now is leading the race on his birthday with just 2.5 laps to go. Mortara's thrown it away. The Venturi team can't believe what they're seeing.
I had a problem with the regen.
He had a problem with the regen. So the regen is what...
Copy that. Continue, please. Where are we? Continue. Where are we?
He wants to know what position they're in, and he's been told he's in P3. So the regen takes the energy from braking and turns it back into usable energy, and that happens when you're on the brakes, and sometimes that can cause an issue with the braking.
Yeah, it changes the brake balance front to rear of these cars, and they're so sensitive to brake balance. They have adjusters in the car as well.
There you go. It happened just a few laps from the end of the race, and Mortara spins it, loses the lead to Daniel Apt, and Felix Rosenqvist follows through as well. So Mortara is down to 3rd. Interesting little tidbit to how I do this. I haven't watched this race probably since it happened, and I don't remember everything, obviously, but certain moments sort of bring back memories, and I know exactly what's going to happen now. I don't normally check until the end, until I've watched the whole race, and then I do the end bit of this video, but I do now remember this race and what happens at the end. So Eduardo Mortara does not get to win his 2nd ever Formula E race.
In the Venturi garage.
We're on to the last lap of the race then. And there is Daniel Apt, who is on his final tour. What a phenomenal day this will be for the Audi team if he can hold on to take the victory. Bouncing over the curbs. What a superb, well, what a crazy race from the leader locking up and spinning at the start to the leader locking up and spinning at the end.
You couldn't script it. From one great story to another. Potential rookie victory for Eduardo Mortara and first ever for the Venturi team suddenly goes away, and it's Daniel Abt who is now the headliner, seeking his first win on his birthday for Audi.
Here comes Daniel Abt through the final corner on his 25th birthday to win an E-Prix for the first time in Hong Kong. Punches the air.
Well done.
A well done over the radio. Felix Rosenqvist in second across the line. Here comes Eduardo Mortara there, out of the final corner, across the line in third place. What a disappointment for him. High fives all around for Audi.
Happy birthday, my friend! Congratulations! Yeah! Yeah!
And that was Alex Lynn, and someone's in the wall. Andre Lotterer for Techeetah. It's in the wall right at the end of the race. What is going on back there? Sam Bird in 6th because Alex Lynn ran into trouble and has ended up finishing in 10th place. Buemi in 11th position. Big double-waved yellows at the end. Turvey finishing in 7th place, but what on earth went on at the end of the race as well?
May have been more than one car involved.
All of the carnage happens in the last few laps. It was a pretty dull race, it has to be said. There were long periods where no one was really that close to each other. We didn't get many overtakes, and it was just a bit of a slog to get through. The first Hong Kong race is a lot better than this one. But then in the last few laps you have Mortara spinning from the lead and Daniel Abt taking his first ever Formula E race win on his birthday. Except he doesn't, because he was later disqualified for a minor technical infringement. Something to do with parts on the car having the wrong barcode and it doesn't match up. Something like that. Not only that, you have Andre Lotterer binning it just before he gets to the line. But I don't think he's going to score points anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So, with Mortara spinning and Daniel Abt breaking the rules, Felix Rosenqvist wins the second Hong Kong E-Prix of 2017-2018. Which is amazing when you think he started on pole and then spun and dropped down to 10th or 11th. He's had to fight his way back up, made a lot of time up in the pit stops, did very well then, and he's taken advantage of everything that's happened in the last few laps and Daniel Abt's technical infringement. So, Mahindra, fantastic opening weekend. Abt Audi, absolute disaster. Edams, not really any better. I think Buemi did score some points in that second race, but otherwise it was a complete blank for them as well. So, with the first two races in the books, let's have a look at the teams and drivers' standings for the fourth season of Formula E so far. Mahindra lead the team standings, which I believe is the first time ever, possibly only time. They are ahead of Virgin, Techeetah, Venturi and Jaguar. No Abt Audi or Edams. And in the drivers' standings, we have Sam Bird leading the way just ahead of Jean-Eric Verne, Felix Rosenqvist, Eduardo Mortara on his debut weekend, and Nick Heidfeld. So that is all from Formula E for now. It'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. We have the Shanghai E-Prix in 2024, and I'll cover the next round or two of Season 4 of Formula E, whatever that is, I haven't checked. And also, Weekend Roundup is coming in the next couple of days, because there was a lot of motorsport to watch this past weekend, and I'm still catching up with everything. More content incoming, plenty of motorsport happening this weekend as well. So make sure you stick around, definitely subscribe, leave your thoughts down below. What did you think of this E-Prix? Do you have fond memories of this one? Thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.